In a world filled with Bigfoot podcasts, where believers and skeptics clash, one podcast stands tall, ready to separate fact from fiction. Welcome to That Bigfoot Podcast. Brian and Wayne are here to call out the hoaxers, shoot down the myths, and weed through the mountain of red circle squatches. There is no Bigfoot Kool-Aid drinking going on here. We're not here to blindly believe, but to uncover the truth about the legendary creature that has captivated the world for centuries. Each week, we'll dive deep into the evidence and share jaw-dropping insights that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Bigfoot. So, if you're tired of the same old stories and want a podcast that separates fact from fiction, join us on That Bigfoot Podcast. Get ready for a wild ride through the mysterious world of Bigfoot. Strap in, skeptics and believers alike, because That Bigfoot Podcast is about to blow your mind. Don't miss out. Like, subscribe, and comment now, and let's uncover the truth together. That Bigfoot Podcast, where the bullshit ends and the hunt for truth begins.
And we are live. We were live for just a couple of seconds because I couldn't hit the right fucking button, but we are really live now after the intro. Everybody is here. People are piling into the chat. So we are, let me mute Dani's mic because he's right next to me and everything's fucking echoing. So there we go. I'm going to control his mic. Oh, we've got Russ in the chat. I was so hoping that Russ would show up. Thank you for being here, Russell. We'll get some insight from you here in a little bit. I'm sure you're going to be topic of conversation on the live show. But as always, Wayne, what's going on, man?
What's happening, brother? How you doing today?
I am hanging in like a hair in a biscuit. I've been chomping at the bit to do this live. We did a live last week, like 7 days ago, and here we are doing another one, and we're broadcasting in like 5 different places. I've got a bunch of YouTube channels hooked up here. My Facebook, the Facebook page is hooked up. So hopefully we'll have a bunch of people pile in here for the conversation because I'm assuming it's going to get fun tonight. I want to say hello to a couple of people in the chat before we get going. But before we get there, what's going on, Miss Tiffany?
Oh, nothing much. Just hanging out like, how'd you say it last time? Like a bump on a pickle.
You hanging in like a bump on a pickle?
Yeah.
I'm like a hair in a biscuit. Let's bring on our other special guest that has normally not making any appearances. But because this is special tonight, we have Dani in the house. What's going on, Dani?
Unmute him. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here. I've had food poisoning since Monday, so I've been throwing up and shitting out both ends. I ain't been able to keep water down, so I'm not going to be here for long. But you,
Dani, what the hell are you going to do if you lose any more weight, dude?
I mean, I'm gonna just keep looking good. I don't know what you mean.
You're
look like a Barbie doll. I don't know what to tell you. I feel you look good. I look snatched. Just keep looking better.
Welcome back from the Dominican Republic. Clearly, don't eat or drink some of the things that he ate or drank over in the Dominican Republic because he has not been well. I picked him up at the airport in Charlotte a couple of nights ago, and we stopped like 3 times, and he was on the side of the road. It was not a pretty sight. So there you go. You can only get that right here live on That Bigfoot Podcast, folks. This is real live television here. I want to say hey to Jeff from Pine Island Research. Thanks for being here, man. Sharon, Sandra Piper, Ristel. We've got Martha in the house. Troy from Tennessee I think Troy was first through the door telling me to make sure that I hit the right button. And I appreciate you reminding me that, Troy. You should have reminded me to hit the right intro after I hit the right button. That's why we were all sitting here picking our noses and you guys were looking at us for a few seconds before the intro started. But it is what it is. We're not embarrassed about it. It's what we do here. Steve from Ontario, thanks for being here, man. It's good to see you in the chat. Everybody else is piling in. We'll try to say hello to you guys as we go along because we want you to be a part of the show. As always, this is the live show, so you don't have to send an email or a voicemail. We'll let you call right in and talk to us. So Jeff says, shitting through a screen door without touching the wires. Hope you feel better soon, Dani. There you go. We appreciate that, Jeff. I think Jeff has as many sayings as I do.
Yeah, Robin said he's hanging in there like a dingleberry, too.
Robin, I don't know, Robin. I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, dude, but your Facebook profile picture is scary as fuck. You literally look like a serial killer. That could be the movie poster for a serial killer movie. We do love you, man. He's always in the Bigfoot Encounters and Field Research Group. We're going to talk a lot about that. We're actually going to start there because Dani does have food poisoning. and doesn't feel well. So we're going to get into a lot of stuff tonight. We're going to talk about Bigfoot and missing people. We're going to get into all kinds of things. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the last live show that we did and kind of set the table for what Dani's here to talk about. So we did the last live on the 14th, and we had Nikki Cologne on from Sasquatch Secrets. We had Brent Dill on from The Tall Ones. We had Jeff from Pine Island Research, and we had Pat from Squatch Talk. And of course, Wayne and myself were here. And unbeknownst to me, Brent got into some, I guess, somewhat controversial waters. He was talking about Wes Germer over at Sasquatch Chronicles and some of the things that were going on with his alleged encounter from back in, 2012 or whatever it was. And we kind of got in the weeds on that a little bit. And we moved on to different topics and went on to other things. It was just very interesting to me. And I don't believe in coincidence. I think I've said that on my show and this show plenty of times. I don't believe in anything coincidence, right? I think everything happens for a reason. Yes, show me Bigfoot. My gases are flabbered. Yes, it is a flabbergasting thing that we're going to talk about here. So literally 3 days after that live, we have a Facebook group. Most of you guys who are probably in here right now watching us and in the chat are in the Facebook group. If you're not, what's wrong with you? It's Bigfoot Encounters and Field Research on Facebook. There's almost 12,000 people in there. Tons of amazing stuff, tons of amazing posts. We get into all kinds of different things. Russell is always posting his campfire chats, and we'll get into some of that hopefully tonight as well. But like 3 days after we did that live, I'm always posting in that group because I do. Sasquatch Odyssey is a encounters-based podcast. I have to have people who have had encounters to come on and share their encounters for me to put out a show. So I put out in lots of Facebook groups trying to recruit people to come on and talk about their encounters, right? So I did that in my own group, Bigfoot Encounters and Field Research. And 3 days after we did our live show, this was one of the comments that was made from Cindy McCahon, McMahon. Hi, per our previous discussion, I can produce a story that's believable. I won't charge you as much as last time. I can guarantee that I can get you more sponsors and other members. Let me know if you need more stories, and I can provide actors to play the parts of the witnesses. Hope to hear from you again. And again, that was 4 days ago or 3 days after our live. So my response was, what the fuck are you talking about? To which I got stories about Bigfoot, of course. I spoke to Daniel a few years ago to write stories on a semi-regular basis. He said you and he had discussed it. You were on speakerphone. Do you not recall? No, I don't recall because as soon as I clicked the Facebook profile, it's clearly fake. It is a fake picture of a lady with her tits out. And if you scroll down and look at the Facebook profile that has no posts, it has no pictures and no friends, it says Cindy McCahon has changed his profile. Now, I'm not going to get into the pronoun issue here, but that didn't compute with me. So it's clearly a fake profile. And we got into the weeds. I kept, saying that this person was fake and whatnot. And I literally said, if you had this conversation with me and Daniel, right, then you got to have our phone number. It's on your phone, right? So why don't you just put my phone number in the chat right here for everybody to see, or Daniel's, whoever's phone you happen to talk to, both of us on speakerphone, because it never happened. So I just wanted to bring Dani on to have a quick conversation like only Dani can about things like this. So Dani, I'm going to unmute you and you can take it away. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
That's right, motherfucker. I can control my mic. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear about this until I was literally throwing up in the car on the ride home from the airport. But number one, Cindy, go fuck yourself. All right, stop using my Christian name. I haven't used Daniel professionally pretty much since we started this podcast. I've used Dani for the last several years. So that, yeah. I mean, there's no point in getting upset about something that's clearly not like true or real. I'm pretty conscious of how I expend my energy and what I allocate my attention towards, and it's clearly a bot account. I don't know how much you want to get into it. I don't pick up the phone for anyone. I don't like fucking talking on the phone. I don't even know what my phone sounds like. I don't use the ringer. If you've called me, like you can, I can walk you through it if we need to, but you can just pull up who you've like talked to in your call log is what it's called. So pull up a call log, take a snapshot of the date and time that we talked and how long the phone conversation was. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
know we're not
was.
supposed to be naming names and stuff, but whoever's behind that account, that motherfucker needs to go find his goddamn balls. And if he ain't got any, he can buy some. It's 2024. I mean, if you have things to say about people, why are you hiding behind bot accounts? And if we were paying for stories, we'd be putting out 3 episodes a week, and every single one of them would be kick-ass encounter stories. We wouldn't be collaborating with other people or being innovative and doing other types of content or projects or constantly trying to adjust or grow the brand, based on what content or encounters and people we are currently talking to or have on the docket, that kind of thing. So, I mean, desperate people do desperate things. So obviously with your show becoming successful and you being able to turn something that was a hobby by yourself into what it has become with no backers and no financial support and no one else, involved, that can be threatening to someone else who maybe had to do all of those things or whatnot. But I mean, I don't get it. I didn't have a conversation with Cindy. We've never been inauthentic or paid for or created content unless we like explicitly stated that this was something that we, wrote or fictionalized for Backwoods Horror Story or, another avenue of our podcasts or whatnot. But yeah, I don't think that it needs a lot of attention. I mean, everyone in this room right here has like showed up in person for events and has been involved in these conversations for years now, putting in the time and the effort and showing up. And I think that should, speak for itself, that people involved in what's happening right here clearly have skin in the game, are authentically invested, and are devoting a significant amount of their time and energy and efforts to doing real shit in the real world, the real way. So I don't really know what else to say other than just a whole bunch of entertaining, crazy, hateful shit. I mean,
Yeah, let me just real quick. I wanted to say something. We were talking about this before we came on. I myself personally have been affiliated with Paranormal World Productions for going on 3 years now, if it's not 3 years. And the first time I ever heard Daniel's voice was at the Smoky Mountain Conference this past July. And we have emailed each other, we have texted each other. Never have I heard his voice until this year. So to say that you had a phone conversation, especially about something as illicit as fake shit, you're full of shit. Put your titties up, or get a more convincing picture.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even answer the phone when I call 90% of the time. So just the fact that you think you're going to get both of us on the phone at the same time on speakerphone to collaborate with you about right. And here's the thing I don't understand. I guess they're trying to make light of the fact or trying to insinuate that we pay people to come on and then share those stories like it's been alleged. And the funny thing about that, well, not funny to me, it is the crux of what we're talking about and why we're really talking about this, because it's literally 3 days after we had Brent on the show accusing another podcaster of the exact same thing, saying that they are paying actors to come on and share their stories. And then you have somebody in our group that's never interacted in that group ever in the 4+ years that group has been up. Now, all of a sudden, they're making a public comment. And here's the other thing. If you have an IQ above 60, it should dawn on you. Anybody in the group can say right now, I'd love anybody in the chat to tell me that are in more than 5 Bigfoot groups on Facebook. Raise your hand if you've ever seen a post from me, Brian King Sharp, in a Facebook group trying to solicit people to come on Sasquatch Odyssey and tell their story. There's a lot of hands going up right now because I'm in about 700 groups, and I do that on a regular basis to this very day. Because I tell you, if you do an encounters-based podcast that you don't pay for people's stories, you have to do that constantly to get people to come on and share their encounters, or you're not going to have things to talk about. So just the fact that that comment was made on a post in a Facebook group with me soliciting real people to come on and share their encounters proves that it's absolute and utter bullshit. Because if I was paying people to write these encounters, you wouldn't be making a comment on a post that I made soliciting people that had real encounters to come on and share their encounters. It just makes no sense. But I guess the point is, if you're going to say something about me, and I respect, there's plenty of people who disagree with it. Russ, I mentioned Russ at the top of the show. Russ doesn't agree with a lot of things that Wayne and I say on this show, and a lot of things that people have to say in the Bigfoot world. But you know what Russ does? He puts his face on his Facebook profile, and he posts in these groups as himself and says, I'm going to ask this tough question because I think it deserves an answer. He doesn't hide behind a fake account. He doesn't pretend to be somebody else. He says what he says, and it's his face, and I respect that wholeheartedly. I will have a conversation with anybody. Wayne has had to talk me off the ledge before of giving out my personal cell phone number on the internet so people could contact me directly if they had a problem with me or my show. That's how I like to do business. So if you're not doing the business that kind of way, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Troy's comment. I had to put it up here. Back to the titty high window. Where's Mary Ann in her bra when you need her?
Exactly.
So yeah, it is what it is. I don't want to beat the dead horse. Dani, I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to be a part of the show. I know you're not feeling well, and it's not an easy thing to do. So we appreciate it. We're going to move on to greener pastures and get into some other things on the show. So do you have any parting words for us?
I love you, Dani. I hope you feel better. I'm sorry you feel like shit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for playing. Have a great night. So, yeah, that said, again, it's just one of those things. If you have a problem with somebody, just be intellectually honest about it. Don't make false allegations that you can't back up. There's no paying for anybody to come on and share their experiences. Honestly, I wish I had the money to pay people. It'd make my job a whole lot easier if I was that kind of person, but we just don't do that kind of stuff. So it is what it is.
Something else, Brian, that stuck out to me, and I'm curious if it did to you as well. This person clearly has no fucking clue how it works, how the whole podcasting thing works. To get you more sponsors, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah, I noticed that. More sponsors and more members. I guess they think that I have the same type of business model that some other podcasters do. I'll tell you exactly how many members I've got. I've got about 32, and I make $157 a fucking month off of memberships.
And
so
as far as sponsors, that's advertisement, I'm assuming, from the podcast. And, we have a company that we use that distributes all of our podcasts, right?
That's correct.
They are the ones that are in charge of getting sponsors and ads. We have no control over that.
Exactly. Yeah. Stories don't have anything to do with that. It's not the way that it works, but it is what it is. But it's a sign of, and that's really why I wanted to talk about it. It is a sign of a larger problem that we have, is the attacks that come if you try to hold people accountable. And that's why we started That Bigfoot Podcast, was to hold people accountable. And if people are hoaxing and people are having, they're not necessarily doing things the right way, we are in no way, shape, form, or fashion the Bigfoot police. Oh, look, I changed my background to the right one. I am a professional, folks. we are not the Bigfoot police, but when we started the show, we said we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to call people out for hoaxing. We're going to have the real conversations on That Bigfoot Podcast because, frankly, very few people are going down that road, and we chose to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. And whatever comes our way, we're going to address it as we go. But here's the thing. If you're going to troll, I allow some of that. Some of my admins in the Bigfoot Encounters and Field Research group get so angry at me because I don't automatically delete that stuff and kick these people out. The first thing that you said to me, Wayne, via text message was delete it and move on. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to delete it because I want people to see this. And I'm going to keep it up there just in case I ever want to figure out who this is, because I do have friends who can figure shit out. So if we really wanted to dig deep and find out who was behind the fake account, we could. We just don't have time to do that kind of stuff because it's not that important. But it is a symptom of a bigger problem here. And it's a conversation I've had with Brent. You know, funny that Brent has not had as many issues as I thought he would when he goes after some of the people that he goes after. You know, people say things to him and they make comments or whatever, but by and large, he gets a lot of people saying, thank you for doing what you do, because very few people are doing it. And I think it's one of the reasons that we started doing it on this show is there is a space for that in Bigfoot. And I think it needs to be filled by more people than just us. Frankly, I think people need to have these kind of conversations. If people out there doing nefarious things in the wrong ways, then we need to call them and hold them to a standard. And if people are scared to do it, it is what it is. Look, I don't go around picking fights with people. And I had some conversations with people today offline. And I said, look, you know, I am very weary about going after some other podcasters, right? Because as soon as I say something against another podcaster, it's because I'm jealous. I'm just jealous because I don't have this, or I'm not doing as good as they are, or whatever the case may be. So I try to stay out of those waters, and we don't go necessarily after podcasters because, fortunately, I don't think there's a lot of podcasters out there doing a lot of nefarious things. It's normally just other people that are hoaxing videos or, you know, making up bogus encounters and things like that. That's primarily what we talk about on the show. But if it happens to come that that's something we have to have a conversation about in the future, we are certainly willing to do that. And look, I have no problems being questioned. If you look in the Bigfoot Encounters and Fields Research group, there's plenty of posts that call me to task on a lot of my evidence, a lot of the things I say on the show, and I have no problems interacting and being called to the carpet to answer for what I do and what I say and any evidence that I've ever presented. So I have no qualms with having those kind of conversations, because I believe if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't be one of those people who want to hide behind the curtain when it's time to have those kind of conversations. I don't shy away from that at all whatsoever. Tiffany, you're muted. Do you have anything to say about this whole situation that's going on in the Facebook group? Because you are an admin over there. What do you have to say about some of the stuff that we've been seeing?
Well, if some of the things are questionable and I don't know for sure, I'm just going to leave this here because I don't want to start a whole bunch of drama. Because there's so much shit that goes on in that. Like, I quit posting in there because every time I post in there, I mean, it's just some, you know, just dumb shit. So, but yeah, it's ridiculous. And you brought Russ up, and I love Russ because he's real. He is so real. And I think that a lot of people, they can't appreciate that because they're not confrontational. They're not one to call people to the carpet. They're just stay in the background and run their mouth. But that's why I love Russ in the group, because he does call people to the carpet. He does ask the hard questions that need to be asked. And I think it's very healthy to have someone like that in your group.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. I hope Russ is still with us. I don't see him posting in the chat right now. So Russ, I hope you're here, and I hope you can hear this. And I hope everybody that's listening can hear my voice right now, and everybody who listens to this in the future. Russ is in that group asking those tough questions because they need to be asked. He's not being a dick about it. He's not being an asshole. He's not trying to tear Wayne and I down, because here's the thing. 90% of the time when Russ posts something in the group, he sends me a message or an email about it and says, hey, just so you know, I'm not trying to call you out or trying to be an asshole. I just want this question answered because I think it's a fair question. And there's been plenty of times admins have reached out to me and said, I want to delete this. I want to remove this. Why do you put up with this guy? And every single time I say, because he needs to be here. It's engagement. That's the kind of thing that we started that group to have the conversations about. And even if it's a tough conversation for me about evidence that I've presented or something that I've said in my book or something that I've said on the show, I need to be held to task. He did it recently with some of his campfire chats with me talking about David Avocado Wolf going up to Todd Standing's place and in Nordag and having an encounter with a Sasquatch where he saw a Sasquatch. And then I'm collecting footprints on my property in North Carolina, and I'm having experiences where I see Sasquatch. What are the chances of me being an influencer or an entertainer in Bigfoot having those experiences? It's slim and none. So the question is fair, and I need to be one to respond to that. I can't answer that. I've said it before when we were talking about David Avocado Wolf. I admitted it's the same thing for me. If I'm putting myself in a situation where there's possibly Sasquatch activity, does that change the narrative? Does it change the probability of me having an experience with Bigfoot? Yeah. A, because I live in the woods. B, there's habitat to support them. I go out in the Pacific Northwest and I have an experience where I see a Sasquatch. Is that uncommon in the Pacific Northwest? Not if you go out in the woods looking for Sasquatch. It's not. There's plenty of reports that come out of there. So, but that's a fair question that I need to answer to, because I'm putting it out there as a Bigfoot entertainer, right? So anybody who's giving Russ a whole bunch of shit in the group, please back off. Just engage in the conversation. He's not doing it to tear us down. He's not trying to be an asshole. He loves the show. I think he likes Wayne and I for the most part. I think he likes Tiffany for the most part. So he's not trying to be a dick. He's literally in a Bigfoot encounters and field research group talking about Bigfoot encounters and field research. Russ doesn't come in the group just to sell his t-shirt or to hawk his Bigfoot necklace or to talk about his podcast. He has real conversations about Bigfoot that we talk on the show because he talks and listens to the show. So there you go. I'm trying to go through the comments. I love hard conversations. I've got it.
Ron, this is why I have Tiffany. She does all of that, and I can just do what you're doing right now.
Yeah, if you think I'm going to get Dani to do this, you have fell and bumped your head before we get on the show. It's not happening. I don't have a producer. I'm not big time like you, Big Daddy.
Tiffany is both of ours.
But you're a big time, Big Daddy. I don't have that. I'm just a peon here.
We all know the truth to that. Hush.
Brian, do you believe once again? I can't fucking read. This is live, folks. This is
Brian,
exactly.
do you believe once you began to seek Sasquatch out, that they in turn have seeked you out? Good question.
Thank you, the Sasquatch savant. This is why I have the Sasquatch savant, Daddy Wayne, to read for me, because literally when Wayne and I record these shows and we're not live and I'm trying to read these emails, you should hear. I should put out an entire series of the shit that I edit out of the show. You guys would probably never listen again because you're like,
yeah, me and Wayne, we need a blooper reel. I'm telling you, for real.
So
blooper reel.
To answer your question, Troy, no, I don't believe that Sasquatch has seeked me out because I have been seeking them. I don't believe that is a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that. I think there's a lot of people out there who believe that kind of stuff. I just don't believe it. I think what happens is, if you put yourself in a position, in a place where you are bound to, or there's a high probability to have an experience with a Sasquatch, I think that's the best thing that you can possibly do. I don't think Sasquatch are somehow mind speaking to people, or they're showing themselves to people that they want to see them. I think it's as simple as going out into the woods, into an area where they are, and looking for the signs and following the signs, and it happens to people. I am not the only one to have seen a Sasquatch. There's plenty of people who put themselves in those positions to have those types of encounters, and it happens. So no, I don't think they're seeking anybody out. I think it's just as simple as getting off your couch, getting out from behind the keyboard, and making fake Facebook accounts so you can go and fuck with people on Facebook. actually get out into the woods and you might have an experience with Bigfoot. That's what I think. Talk amongst yourselves while I read the comments.
Well said. Well said.
No, I mean, you do a Bigfoot show. I do a Bigfoot paranormal, Bigfoot heavy show. I haven't had the kind of experiences that you've had. Why is that? Well, I don't fucking live in the woods on 40 acres in the middle of North Carolina. I live in a subdivision. I live in a neighborhood. They're not walking up and down my street. You know, that's why, I mean, that's the difference. And you can open up a whole new can of worms when you talk about allowing them to see or them coming to seek you out. I don't believe that for one single second. Those are the same kind of people. And Troy, I'm not saying this about you because I know how you feel, buddy. But the people that say that are the same kind of people that are having Bigfoot walk through their house and leave footprints in their carpet and seeing them on a busy street. You know, that those are the kind of people that are saying shit like that.
Cindy, you're gonna have to give us a little bit more than what are your signs. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's in reference to me talking about signs, or I don't know if you're saying here's your sign as in Jeff Foxworthy. I'm not really sure. Brian, when's the new book coming out? Oh, Tara, thank you so much. I must have paid Tara to ask about the book. Please don't tell anybody I paid you to ask me that question, Tara. The new book, actually, I sent in a couple of things to the publishing company today. I've got to get a final edit from me into them. Hopefully sometime after the first of the year. I'm not gonna put a time frame. I put a lot of pressure on Hanger One Publishing the first time around, and they got my book published in record time. So I'm not gonna do that to Doug and Alex and those guys over at Hanger One. I'm gonna let them do it at their leisure, but I'm hoping that it'll be out. I mean, I would like to say maybe by March of 2025. I'm gonna hold my breath and hope that's gonna happen. And if you guys are interested in the new book, I have been narrating those first couple of chapters. They're out on Sasquatch Odyssey if you want to head over and listen to those. If you're not a part of our Bigfoot Weekly newsletter, you can sign up for that on paranormalworldproductions.com. You can go over there. You should get a pop-up window that allows you to put in your name and email address. I'm actually going to put out a couple of more chapters of the book over there so you can read it. The first one's already out. And I'm going to start narrating chapter 3 to put out on Sasquatch Odyssey probably next Wednesday. And I've gotten a rave reviews about it so far. The story seems to be compelling for folks. I truly, truly enjoyed writing it. I've truly enjoyed narrating, and I think it's an awesome story that people are really resonating with. So I'm hoping, like I said, to have it out by, I'm going to say March of next year. That's going to be my cross fingers. I'm hoping for that, but I'm not going to put any pressure on them. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. She said it has her heartstrings. All right, so we talked about, we're going to talk about Bigfoot and missing people. We'll get into that at some point in time. And we don't normally do this on the show, but we got a really cool email. So I'm going to read this really quickly for you guys. I sent it to Tiff and Wayne via text message the other day, but I thought it was a really cool email. So I'm going to read a couple of emails here, and then we're going to get into some of the Bigfoot and missing person stuff and a couple of other things that we have on the docket. So the subject of this email is accolades, and it is message Brian, Wayne, Tiffany, and Dani. I would like to take the time to let you know how much I enjoy all of your podcasts that are being produced via Paranormal World Productions. A while back, I left a snarky review on Apple Podcast. I was frustrated with all the Fred episodes and all of the commercials. I have since amended the reviews and left you a 5-star review on anything possible. In my humble opinion, which is shared by millions of others, the content is phenomenal. However, it's not just the content that has us coming back for more. It is also the integrity, strong moral compass, character and courage exhibited by each of you. Thank you for raising the bar. Thank you for calling out the grifters, the bullshit artists, the liars, and the false idols. I am no longer a paid subscriber to another show that we will not name. I believe that the level of honesty that comes from you guys comes naturally for all of you. Because each one of you is wired honestly and don't know any other way to be. Thank goodness for that. And what a godsend this is for our community. Tiffany, you are so bright and articulate. I love the chemistry between the three of you, and you really balance out the boys while holding your own too. You also have a great voice for podcasting. Wayne, you are the friend that we all wish we had. You are loyal, calm, and possess such an easygoing nature. I also want to call out Dani too for the courage and bravery front. Brian and Dani, I have often pondered what your experiences were like as gay men being a part of a large urban Southern police force. I am willing to bet it was trying times for you both along the way. I also believe that coming out to the Sasquatch community was not without its shameful, disgusting bigotry. I am a decades-long gay and lesbian community ally and applaud you both for living bravely. Thank you for being blue. I come from a tremendous blue family and wear it as a badge of honor. In closing, here are my two plugs. Brian, write a memoir about your experiences as a boy growing up in the South and your experiences as a gay man and police officer and your experiences of coming out to the Sasquatch community. I bet it would be incredible. And I bet that your story would help empower others, gay and straight. A story of courage and bravery is always needed. Dani, come on once in a while. I know you dislike it, but we love it. The banter between you and Brian is hysterical. I love it. Thanks so much. I look forward to everything on the horizon for Paranormal World Productions. Stay healthy and happy. Kind regards. And that comes from Jen from Long Island. Jen, I can't tell you how much we appreciate the email, taking the time to thankfully amend your review on Apple Podcast. Wayne says that at the end of every single episode of That Bigfoot Podcast, how important those ratings and reviews are for us and the show. So we definitely appreciate you going back and amending that. Look, the ads, we've talked about it before. They're how we pay our bills. It is how we keep the lights on here at PWP. And that's just how it's going to be. And as far as the Fred episodes, everybody has chimed in. We love Fred, and Fred is a staple every Sunday, basically on Sasquatch Odyssey. You're going to hear something from Fred. We have been changing it up recently, but he is a staple on the show. So I don't know. I know what it does for me to hear those kind words from people who take the time out of their day to email us like that. Wayne, what say you about what Jen had to say about us?
I love getting those emails. We do get them from time to time. And for me personally, for that one, I'm glad that something like that comes through because I pride myself on standing up for the people that I care about. I always have. And in my opinion, outside of being a good spouse, being a good husband, or being a good father, being a good friend is up there. And if we all try to be good friends, the best friends that we can be, then I think we would all be a little bit better. So that's something that I try to do. And the fact that it's resonating and people are seeing it, it meant something to me. And I appreciate that so very much. Thank you.
Miss Tiff, what say you?
I concur. I mean, I love all of y'all. You and Wayne and the whole entire group that we're meshed in with. Like, I've done this for almost 2 years. So it's nice when you hear those kind of comments because I try to be articulate and I try to hold my own. I mean, y'all are some crazy fuckers. I'm just here to tell you. But I have so much fun. And, just the camaraderie in the chat room. I mean, if you look at it tonight, I mean, everybody's so loving and, they're not, jerks. And I mean, it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, we've said it so many times about Bigfoot and the community. And yeah, there is some shenanigans that goes on. And there are some people that do the fake profiles and they want to be the keyboard warriors. But they are by and large the minority. The majority of this community is absolutely amazing. I reached out to Cliff today and talked to Cliff. He was on his way. He was jumping on a plane to go and do the Cryptid Con. He and Jeff and a bunch of tons of people are going out there to hang out. And I'm so freaking jealous because I want to be on the plane and going with him because I just want to go out there and hang out with my friends. I told Cliff, I was like, hey man, I want to call you tomorrow. And he had a thing over the weekend this past weekend out at the North American Bigfoot Museum out in Boring, Oregon. And he had Michael Freeman out there for the weekend. And I was trying to fly out there, but Dani was in the Dominican Republic and I just couldn't make it work with him being gone out of the country, and I just couldn't do it. But I wanted to go out there so bad and just hang out with my friends, because that's really what it's about, is having fun and doing what we love and doing it with people. Oh my God, I can't with the hands, Tiffany. And doing it with the people that we love. It is just one of those things that I love about this community. And, the detractors and the people that, the naysayers and the ones that cast stones and all those things, it is what it is. Russ, we appreciate you, man. Have a great night. Thanks for being here, man. We look forward to more campfire chats and Bigfoot encounters and field research, man. So yeah, it's a family. I mean, we truly are a family. And I think that clearly resonates with a lot of people who listen to the show, and we're just real. I mean, if you've met us in person, I've had people tell me this. They'll come and see me at a speaking gig or come and see us at a conference or whatever, and they're like, I just really didn't think you guys were going to be the same as you were on the show. And I'm like, of course we're the same, because that's who we are. We don't change anything. These aren't personas. We all use our real names. We all put our faces out there for people to see. And I think a lot of times that's rare, because there's a lot of channels out there who shall go unnamed, who's never shown their face on their show, and nobody knows what the fuck they look like, but yet they've got 1,000 episodes where they've talked to people that have had encounters with Dogman. That's just not how we do business here. And hey, if that's your business model and that's what you like to do, then so be it. Some people have broke bread with us. Chris Blaylock is one of those people. Mm-hmm. Troy's broke bread with us. We've hung out with people and enjoyed genuine connections with folks. So,
a question real quick is, Show Me Bigfoot, is that Marianne?
Are you Marianne? I don't know who that is.
From Missouri?
Show me Bigfoot. Show me who you are. Are you hiding behind?
She commented earlier that she made some peach, the stuff we were drinking at her house. Yes, it is.
Yes, she says, yes, I fed you boys. Yes, you fed us very well, and we appreciate that very much. So yeah, I mean, it is a community for us. It's our jobs. That's what we do. It's our full-time thing. However, it's very important to us. And I think that I said that on the last show. It's very difficult sometimes when you got both feet straddling the fence, and you're one in the entertainment side and you're also in the serious research side, because you care about Bigfoot. You want it to be proven, or whatever your goal is for you. It's not the same for everybody, but we are super passionate about Bigfoot. We care about this community. We care about people's encounters. We care about what's happening in and around the Bigfoot world and community. So hopefully that shines through to more than just Jen, but we definitely appreciate you putting pen to paper and or fingers to keyboard and sharing that. Brian, has your encounter changed your mind about what Sasquatch are? I know we can't say much yet. No, I can't say much yet. And it really hasn't changed it for me. The more I have conversations with people and I go back to my encounters and my experiences just a few months ago, it hasn't changed that for me at all. It just drives me down the path of wanting to know what they are, wanting to know where they are, wanting to know what they eat, why we don't see them more often, why we can't prove them scientifically. And I truly want to know what they are just in general. I want them to be studied. I want all the things that I've talked about before. So if anything, it's just spurred me on to push for that even more. The more I talk to people and have conversations with people, that's really what I'm focused on, because I don't have to answer the question anymore. Are they real? Because for so long, that was all that was on my mind. Are these things real? Is this person BSing me? I don't have to do that anymore. So now I can just go and say, yeah, they're 100% real. Now I want to know what they are, and I want to help people prove that they're real. Brian wants to be a field biologist. No, I do not. I have no desire to be a field biologist. I want to keep being a podcaster, and I want to keep going out and looking for Bigfoot. Okay, I was going to read a couple of more emails here, but I think they're just about the book. Let me skim through them here. If you guys have have anything else to talk about, but let me see here. Okay, here's one from Brian in Asheville. I didn't write this. I didn't pay anybody to write it. It's really Brian in Asheville. I know because he picked me up at the airport in Florida and drove me down to the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. I know he's real. The message is, hi, Brian and Wayne. Just wanted to drop a quick message to say that Bigfoot Podcast episode 81 was outstanding. It was one of the best episodes I've heard in quite some time. And I'm talking about all Bigfoot podcasts, not just yours. The format was excellent and the guests were outstanding. Thank you. And again, that's my buddy Brian in Asheville. Thanks for listening, Brian. We appreciate you taking time to leave us the comment. He, of course, is talking about the last live that we did, where we had Nikki Cologne, we had Brent Deal, we had Jeff Harding, and we had Pat from Squatch Talk on, and talked about some of the things that we talked about a little earlier on. So we appreciate that very much. Very kind words. This one is, the subject is the lady who lived with Sasquatch in Tennessee. It says, hello, I recently heard this episode, and she said they called themselves the Numena, Numena. Has anyone brought up that is actually what the Comanche referred to themselves as? Thank you. And I don't have the name. I'm sorry for who that came from. That is Janice Carter territory, Wayne. Do you remember her using that terminology, that saying the Sasquatch up there called themselves the Numena? And I was not aware that was actually a Comanche word that they used to refer to themselves. Did you know anything about that?
I'm not familiar with that word. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe you're not pronouncing it correctly, but I mean, anything close, it doesn't sound familiar to me. So no, I'm sorry, I don't.
How dare you? I am highly articulate. I never meant to pronounce anything.
You are well versed in your Native American vocabulary.
I never stumble over reading any emails, as evidenced here tonight in all of our previous episodes. All right, last quick email here before we get on to some other stuff. Chapter 1 of a Bigfoot called Coda. It's not exactly what I had it named, but it's okay, Deborah. We'll forgive you. I listened to Brian's podcast episode where he reads chapter 1 of the book. There's a possible error in the book. Oh, no. The rogue Bigfoot is originally described as coming from an area of the Appalachian Trail, but that is so far on the East Coast. If the story is taking place in the state of Washington, then a better reference would be the Pacific Crest Trail.
What did I text you and ask you after you sent me that first copy, Brian?
That's
if
exactly
that was intentional.
The Sasquatch savant beat you to it, Deborah. She says, please feel free to contact me. I actually emailed Deborah back, and she is an author and a book editor herself. And we had a couple of back and forth conversations via email, and I let her know that no, in fact, one of the premises of me creating this fictitious story, it is fiction. It didn't come from a real person. We didn't pay anybody to write it.
Wait, that's not one of the ones Cindy wrote for you?
Well, I have to check the archives. I don't know. I'll have to ask Dani if we got a voicemail from her where she left us the.
Just check the invoices to where you paid people.
That's true. I wonder if she charges the same thing as she did all the other times. We'll have to look into that. We'll have our CPA look into that and get back with you guys. But in all seriousness, I wrote the book from the perspective of the Sasquatch to be able to answer some of those questions that we all speculate about. Obviously, it's fictional. It came from my brain. It's my answers to these things. Not necessarily what I truly believe maybe of Sasquatch, but I thought it would be cool to answer some of those questions, like, do they migrate? And if they do, how far do they go? And what would cause them to migrate? So there are things that happen in the story as it unfolds in a Sasquatch named Coda. As they go along, you'll see that there is a protagonist in there, the rogue Sasquatch out of Noah that causes so many issues in the story, was out in the Appalachian Trail, and he was attacking hikers on the Appalachian Trail, and he was driven out by some of the other Sasquatch clans, and he had to move west, and he eventually ended up on the Olympic Peninsula. So yeah, it was not a mistake. I did not mean it to be the Pacific Crest Trail. I meant it to be the Pacific. Well, that's not right. It was meant to be the Appalachian Trail. So thanks for
I am glad that someone else caught on to that, because, and I think it's cool that you did it that way, because that has always been a question of mine. Do they migrate? And if so, how far. That's what got me. I mean, because if you're talking about the Appalachian Trail, I live on the Appalachian Trail. You do too. Close to it. I mean, on the East Coast. But you're talking about the Olympic Peninsula. That's literally the other side of the country. That's a long ass way for something to move on feet.
And there's a lot of cool things that happen to those said Sasquatches as they migrate from East Coast to West Coast. So I guess you'll just have to listen to Sasquatch Odyssey to find out more, and or buy the book when it comes out, because it's going to have a different ending than what you're going to have on the show. So that should sound familiar. Tiffany did that with both of her books.
Mhm.
Dogmancer in the Woods and the Unfamiliars that she wrote. It is fiction. Everybody,
fiction.
it is fiction. It is fiction. We've said that many times.
The Unfamiliars was fiction? I thought you wrote that about my grandpa. My grandpa didn't live with a bunch of Bigfoot in the woods? What?
Well, in the book he does, honey. In the book he does. He
Okay.
kicks
So if
ass.
you want it to be real, Wayne, it can be real for you. Speaking of the Sasquatch Savant, I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn here. I didn't really have this plan to talk about, but I don't want to be here all night, but I do want to mention this. I had a really cool conversation the other day with Christopher Noel. If you guys are in Bigfoot Encounters and Field Research Group, we don't just talk about fake accounts and bullshit accusations over there. There are a lot of cool things that we post. And I posted some, I did a post asking folks if they had a question for Christopher Noel, if they wanted me to ask it, because I was going to interview him a couple of days ago. I had that interview, and I tell you, it was a good time. I didn't know what to expect. If you guys aren't familiar with Christopher Noel, he's probably best known in the Bigfoot community for two things. His video that most would refer to as the porcupine video. And he's written a couple of books about his theory on the fact that Sasquatch may in some way be on the spectrum and or autistic savants specifically. And I tell you, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I even sent you guys a couple of messages, I think, and said, look, I'm going to interview this guy. And you were like, oh, that should be interesting. And I thought the same thing, but I talked to a couple of people offline that knew Chris and said, hey, he's a really good guy. Nobody believes he's hoaxed anything. They believe that he believes everything that he says. It is a little bit out there. What the fuck is that? Brian Camino. Oh my God. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Too bad. If you're listening to this on the podcast side, you're not getting to see what everybody on the live side is. I don't know. Did I just get hacked? I don't know. I better check my bank account.
It kind of hurt.
I don't know what that is. Anyway, moving back to the conversation. So I had a couple of things that come up when I was talking to Chris. Obviously, we talked about I'm assuming Wayne and Tiffany, by nods of the head, you guys are familiar with the porcupine video from Chris Noel.
Yes.
Okay. So he did send me a couple of things that prior to the interview, and I was able to watch it while we were actually doing the interview. He had sent me a couple of breakdowns from that video, some enhancements that were done he thought they were going to teeter me from one direction to the other, because I was very honest with him. I said, look, dude, I think I've seen the video. I think it's a porcupine. It is what it is, right? I mean, convince me otherwise if you want. But so he's pretty convinced it's not. But I tell you, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not trying to beat up on Chris. That episode has not aired yet. It was literally just a couple of days ago when we did the interview. And he said at the end of the interview, look, dude, if the things I sent you didn't persuade you that it's not a porcupine, don't tell me. Because he's a really funny guy. He's got a really cool sense of humor. We had a good time. We had some laughs. He pushed me a little bit when we got into my sighting and tried to get me to slip up and say some things that I wasn't supposed to say that I may still have to edit out before you guys hear it. But it was a really cool conversation. But during that, I really got to the point where I felt like some of the things that he had said, and again, I'll have to follow back up and circle around with Chris and see if this is actually the case, because this is just my perspective. This is all subjective. It's my opinion, and I'm not projecting this on Chris in any way, but it seemed he was feeling, although he still maintains that that's a Bigfoot. He thinks that's a small Sasquatch that's climbing up that tree. I think he sees more what other people are seeing. I think he sees where the questions are coming from. And I'm going to leave that at that. But really cool guy, great interview. He's had a ton of field experience. This dude is you talk about boots on the ground, real deal research. This fucker takes his sleeping bag out in the middle of his research area and he sleeps on the ground, wide ass open in the middle of the woods. And he has a lot of compelling video. He has a lot of compelling audio that's interesting to me. There were some bird things that he was convinced that was possibly Sasquatch that just sound like birds to me, like oven birds and some other things that he had compared it to. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a mixture of things going on there. And he's got some cool theories about Bigfoot and some of the things that they can do. And Victor says, I have never watched a podcast before. Live is not showing up on YouTube. Okay, well, I'm not really sure how to help you there, Victor. You can send me an email, brian@paranormalworldproductions.com, and we'll get back with you and see if we can help you solve your technical difficulties.
So, real quick before we move on, Brian, talk about Chris Noel. When I first started looking into Bigfoot and was in the early stages of beginning to launch Manimal Research, long before podcasting was ever on my radar, I reached out to him. I know he don't remember because we only had, and he responded on Facebook Messenger. We had a couple conversations. One of the very first books as far as Bigfoot research I ever bought was one of his. And it is nothing but believed Bigfoot structures. And I have to find it here somewhere. But I asked him about some of those because many of those things that he laid out in that book, I had seen in my very limited time in the woods. So I did talk to him personally, but I've never interviewed him or anything. I heard him on another show that we're not going to mention. And I think it was really cool that you got to interview him. And I'm going to be honest, the porcupine video, I don't know why everybody gives him so much shit, because I guess I'm just not that versed on porcupine anatomy, but it looks like something small walking up a tree to me. And maybe it's a porcupine, maybe it's a Sasquatch. I don't know. But I don't know why people give him so much crap about that.
Oh my gosh, are you actually disagreeing with Daddy Brian? See,
Please
folks, that happens.
Please don't spank me, Daddy.
Oh God.
We would never do that on a live one. Never. There's so many subscribers automatically if I were to spank you live. But no, I agree. I mean,
subscriber right there, buddy.
Yeah, it's for the OnlyFans. If you guys want to check out the OF, That Bigfoot Podcast OF, that's where Daddy Brian spanks Wayne. Maybe we should start.
Man.
Maybe I'd have more than 32 people paying me $150 a month for subscriptions if we actually started an OnlyFans. I don't know. I've got nice feet.
Podcasting naked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm naked from the waist down now, and I've got really nice feet. So if anybody wants to see that, just hit me up and we'll start an OnlyFans. But no, a lot of people have given some, I mean, really, really bad shit to Chris about his video. And I can tell you one thing, he is 100% convinced that is absolutely a small Sasquatch climbing up the tree. He did not hoax that. It is a real video that he recorded in real time. It is just, it looks like to me, if you Google some, and that's what I did some comparison videos to an actual known porcupine climbing up a tree in the middle of the day, and them little legs look the same. It just looks like a porcupine to me. So I'm not going to tell Chris that personally. I know he doesn't listen to That Bigfoot Podcast, so you'll probably never hear this. But to his credit, not only did we have the interview, but he actually was very interested in my new book, because he has a book out on Hanger One Publishing as well. He's a co-author of mine, a fellow author of mine, and Tiffany's over on Hanger One Publishing. And he just had a couple of books come out, and he was talking about the book, obviously. And he's gotten a lot of shit for a lot of things over the years, but he actually went back and found where I had posted the first chapter of my book. And by the way, his new day gig that he does is editing. He edits books. So he went through the entire chapter and took his time to point out a few things that I could improve on and change in the first chapter of the book. So he's a stand-up guy. I really enjoyed our conversation with him. Disagree with him or not, we disagreed on about 95% of everything that he believes about Sasquatch. But we disagreed and we were still friendly about it. And we'll probably be friends for the rest of our lives. He's a really, really cool dude. So
when's that coming out, Brian? When do you anticipate?
it'll be out in the next couple of weeks. I don't know exactly when. It'll be out probably in the next 2 weeks.
I gotta be honest. Real quick, I gotta be honest, Brian. Of all of the ones that you've done, that one is not the one that I am anticipating the most. And I think you may know which one I'm talking about.
Way to set that up. Boy, you queued that up like a professional Sasquatch savant. And I was just I was stumbling into that as you were about to say it. In case you guys are interested, I've got a new interview that I actually confirmed and booked today that I'm going to be doing on Monday with the Survivor man himself. Les Stroud is coming back to Sasquatch Odyssey to talk about his latest film project where he's looking into Bigfoot. He's getting back and dipping his toes back into Bigfoot. I should have had this queued up. Maybe Tiffany can Google it while we're talking and look at Les's new. I want to see what the film is called that he's raising money for currently. So while you're doing that, Tiffany, if you don't mind, I'll give him a shout out really quick. Les has a Kickstarter up right now, and he's trying to fund this new film about Sasquatch. And he's going to go out and film this. He's going to have a bunch of people on there. He's going to look for real answers when it comes to Bigfoot. And it's got I think the word answers is in the actual title of it. So as soon as Tiffany gets that, she'll unmute herself and talk about it. So, but yeah, Les is coming back on the show. I was stoked to talk to him today and get him lined up to come back on. So I will be interviewing him on Monday, and that will probably come out. If I interview Les on Monday, I'll probably put that out next Friday. I'm going to turn it around really quickly. I think there's 60 days on the Kickstarter to raise the money, and he's probably, I think 10 days is probably ticked off at this point. So he's got another 50 days to go, but we want to raise as much money as possible.
Do you know how much what his goal is?
Tiff, did you find that?
I did. It is called, according to the AI on Google, it is called The Question of Bigfoot.
That's it.
What's his goal, Tiffany? What's he trying to raise?
I'd have to look up the Kickstarter portion. Just give me 2 seconds.
That's what I didn't know if
I can tell you, I know that I believe the last time that I checked a couple of days ago, I think the money had been raised to completely fund it.
Holy hell.
But again, we need to keep piling it on because I can tell you it's expensive to make a documentary. There's a lot of traveling. There's a lot of filming. Just renting equipment to do a documentary is a huge undertaking. So
yes, everyone out there, real quick, if you're interested in the Bigfoot subject, anytime there's any of these Kickstarters out or anything like that, no matter what you can help out. You know, we're all interested. And it costs, everything that we do costs money. So if you can help out, $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do, help out.
Robert says 10 billion million. Hey, Robert, what's up, buddy?
I love
if
you,
you were
Robert.
here earlier, we were talking about you. I hope your ears were tingling when Wayne was talking about you. All wonderful.
Okay, I have all this information pulled up. If you just give me 2, you can still hear me, but I'm not going to be paying attention to you guys. So his Kickstarter is $52,956 pledged of a $35,803 goal. He currently has 326 backers with 43 days to go.
Good for him.
That is freaking awesome. So I cannot wait to have the conversation with Les on Monday. And again, that'll probably be out as we're talking now. That'll be out next Friday on Sasquatch Odyssey. So you guys make sure you watch out for that. And I am going to ask the question that Troy posed here. What does he say about the Sasquatch in the background shot? Remember, Wayne and I did a show we mentioned that during one of the episodes a couple of months ago. that is on the docket. I'm going to ask him about that, and I'm going to show him because I guarantee he probably doesn't even know what the fuck we're talking about because he's such a busy dude. So I'm going to bring that up to him and get his reaction. So you will have that in addition to him talking about this latest.
Oh man, I wish we could have him as a That Bigfoot only podcast interview.
Well, we'll just have to see what works out between now and Monday. But we are looking for questions. If there are questions that you haven't heard Les answer in the past, make sure you send me an email, brian@paranormalworldproductions.com, and I will get your question into the rotation because we're going to have about an hour to chew the fat, and I'm sure we'll catch up a little bit since the last time he was on and those kind of things. But I'm going to get into some questions, and I'd like to have some really good questions. So if you'd like me to ask something specifically from you to Les, make sure you send me an email, and I'll be glad to put those in there. Wayne, what would be the question you would ask Les on an interview? If you had the opportunity to sit down and talk to him, what would be the first thing on your mind to ask him?
Well, I mean, I would like to know, like we talked about before, like if he had heard anything about the possible Bigfoot behind him. But even more so, I want to know about his time in the Smoky Mountains. I would like to pick his brain about. He talked about mind speak, about a Bigfoot telling him in his mind, if you want to see us, come out here tonight or something like that. I would just like to know more about that, like, because I'm so interested in that. I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things that I didn't get into when I had Les on before. So I'm going to ask some of those questions that I didn't ask before on the first interview. That was a couple of years ago. I think he was episode 68 or 69 of Sasquatch Odyssey. It was a while back. So it's been several years since we had him on, but I am actually putting a link to his Kickstarter in the chat right now for everybody who is with us in the chat. All you got to do is click that right now, and you can go over and donate and send him to the moon and back with all the money that he needs to raise to get this out here. Because I tell you, if anybody's going to do a kick-ass Bigfoot documentary that's actually going to answer some of these questions, it is definitely Les Stroud. He is one of the best in the business at filmmaking. Anybody who's watched Survivor Man for the 10 plus years it was on the air, it was one of my favorite things that I ever watched. That's where I fell in love with Les as a person and just the things that he was doing and doing it the real way. And then the fact that he's into Bigfoot just adds so much more credibility, in my opinion, to the subject that somebody like him is actually out there who is trusted and known to do things the right way and for the right reasons, that's actually looking into it. So I am stoked about it. There's a couple of different levels that you can donate where you can actually have dinner with Les. There's a donation level where you can actually go out on expedition with Les, and you never know who might show up on those expeditions. It may not just be Les. It may be other people in the Bigfoot community that are on these expeditions with him. So, if you got the dough, look into it, and you never know what might happen. Steve's question is, when do we get to hear about your sighting, Brian? As soon as I am no longer under an NDA and I can talk about it. I would love to talk about it. I want to do it right now, but I can't. That should be
a heads up, though. Brian has agreed when he does that, he is going to come on with Tiffany and myself over on Paranormal Odyssey. That is going to be his first place where he gives the behind the scenes info. What happened?
That is true. I can confirm that. My agent confirmed that with me, and I can confirm it with you. I will just get with Cindy or whatever the fuck her name is, and I'll pay her to write me something to say, and I should have plenty of cool material to talk about when I come on the show.
We'll be set.
Yeah, she can write out my entire encounter, and Steve is waiting with bated breath. He can't wait. So there you go. Robert said it's going to be epic. It is going to be epic. I can tell you what it's not going to be, Robert. It's not going to be stuck on talking on the phone, changing a flight for an hour plus with you and Wayne stuck in a car in front of a cemetery. It will not be that epic. I can guarantee you that, my friend.
That's one of the best hours of my life right there, man.
That was epic.
Oh my!
I don't know. What else do you guys got to talk about? That's pretty much all I had to say. I think we covered all the things that I wanted to cover tonight. And I don't like doing 3-hour lives over here. People get pissed off because the show's only an hour plus. But hey, I'm always down to have more conversations. Ooh, Troy says members only. That's OnlyFans only, Troy. OnlyFans only. Got to check out That Bigfoot Podcast OnlyFans. I guarantee you there's somebody that's going to hear this and they're going to look on OnlyFans.
Oh my God.
That Bigfoot Podcast OnlyFans. I should just create one.
I'm just putting it to bed now.
I'm just going to take a picture of my big toe. And that's the picture on the OnlyFans. That's it.
Big toe with some like mini headphones around it. How cool would that be?
Wow.
Yeah, we got to definitely do that. I've got to do Tiffany says. That Bigfoot
Podcast OnlyFans. Hell,
that's going to be a trending. We need to make that a trending hashtag with anything to do with Bigfoot for the next through the end of the year. You guys make that happen. Make us a trending.
How well that would go over.
I guarantee you somebody would.
Somebody would sign up. Me and you sitting there podcasting topless, getting the behind the scenes stuff with like nipple rings and like the water boy guy.
No, look, I am totally 100% devoted to you guys. Okay, but I don't know how far I can stretch that.
Yeah, I have a feeling Mr. Tiffany would get involved if we started OnlyFans. Yeah,
banana hammocks.
Banana hammocks. Oh, well, then if we're doing banana hammocks, I mean, he's got to come in and be a part of it. I mean, we can't see, even my little thumbs up. We can't leave him out of that.
Oh God, this is went downhill. Really, this is why we don't do 3-hour shows. This is what it devolves into, right?
Oh my God.
These other podcasters that go on for 2.5, 3 hours. I'm like, there is no freaking hell yeah. Mr. Tiffany, break out the banana hammock, buddy. That Bigfoot Podcast OnlyFans is coming to you in your phone,
Tara.
on your tablet, or on your computer screen, whatever you prefer. You should definitely listen to us in headphones because Wayne and I like to do AMSR at the beginning of every show with each other. So,
yeah, I can't stand mouth noises, so I'm really glad.
I know like 47 people just dropped out of the chat as we started doing that. Some people, there's a literal, like, I don't know if it's a phobia or if I should call it a disorder or a something that people get when they, like, if you're around people and they tell you to chew with your mouth closed or whatever, there's a thing that causes them to have a really bad issue with mouth noises. So yeah, some people wouldn't subscribe to That Bigfoot Podcast ASMR OnlyFans. So we'll just keep it to the banana hammocks and the toes. How about that?
Hey, there you go. Yeah, I can't do mouth noises. Yeah, I can't. It makes me so nauseous.
I can see the twinkle in Wayne's eyes. He's going to be texting me tonight as soon as we get off the phone and after the show and asking me if we've got the OnlyFans set up, because I can see him. He's like, cha-ching. We're going to change that 32 subscribers, and that $157 a month is going through the roof.
Well, we did that. We did that show where we were talking about Bigfoot porn, and I mean, homegirl wrote a book. Made $32,000 in a month. I mean, that's some good money.
Yes. And Johnny the Sasquatch came into the room. And Sally was strapped to the bed.
I mean, I have written, not a lot
Johnny
of people
the
know this,
Sasquatch.
but I have written a piece of erotica, and I could just totally change that to a Bigfoot. I mean,
Johnny slipped his banana hammock from around his hairy legs. Man, I'm gonna start writing this tonight. I am writing that book.
It's in my head right now.
I am completely abandoning the next 4 books in the saga of Coda the Sasquatch, and I'm going to completely change that and go down the Bigfoot erotica. Yeah, that's happening. That's happening.
yeah.
Thrusted.
So Lord, I don't think you want to finish that sentence.
No, I stopped.
And I can't wait to narrate the audiobook so I can insert all of the noises that were made while the banana hammock got caught in his leg hair.
All
right, this is definitely devolving. We went 15 minutes way past the last.
Yeah, we need to go.
So
no, you got to read Robin's comment, please. Robin,
where's Robin's comment?
Says the supple sway of hairy tits.
Oh my God, Robin. I can't, Robin.
Hairy tit.
Oh, and to your credit, Robin, I critiqued the Facebook profile, and it is no longer serial killer scary. It is an actual
Cat.
pick. So I am definitely good with that. Thank you, Robin. You definitely take direction well. We
I
appreciate that.
noticed that.
Never saw that Bigfoot, a deep dark canyon, 1 a.m. guttural. You people are sick. You people are sick.
Guttural howl.
Hey, you could put it out just in time for Christmas.
So I can tell you right now, there's like 58 people live in the chat right now. If every single one of you guys would sign up for the That Bigfoot Podcast OnlyFans, we might be able to keep the lights on next month. I mean, that would be fantastic. So we'll definitely look into that. All right. So any last words from you guys? Tiffany, what's going on in your life? Anything you want to say before, we always give the Sasquatch Savant the last word on the show, but I like to kick it to the ladies first and see if there's anything you have coming up. You guys have anything exciting coming up over on Paranormal Odyssey, or anything exciting going on in your life that you want everybody to know about?
Well, I can't tell everybody what's going on in my life, but I can tell you that we're having Glenn Martin on Tuesday, and we had him on several months ago. He is a film producer. He's like this, and his shows escaped my brain like 2 seconds after you asked me. But yeah, we're having him on Tuesday. I'm really excited about having him back on.
Yeah, I don't know why I automatically got this visual of Glenn Campbell for some reason when you said whatever his name is. I just thought of Glenn Campbell. I was like, I tried to think of a Glenn Campbell song, and then I couldn't think of one to sing. So
no, Glenn Martin.
Well, there you have it. Well, we appreciate everybody who's been in the chat, everybody who participated tonight. I had way more people watching us live than I ever thought we would on another random Thursday. So we appreciate the support so much. Thank you guys for being here and having a good time with us. That's what it's really all about, is being kind to each other, looking for the answers in your own way. No matter what it is for you about Bigfoot, just be serious about it and have a good time along the way and treat everybody with kindness. That's really my last words, which I don't normally do a lot of, but I felt like we needed a little virtual hug tonight after some of the visceral things that we talked about in the beginning of the show. So, but as always, Wayne, you get the last word on the show, my friend.
All right, guys. Again, thank you so very much. We have the best audience in the biz, I really think. Tiffany and I talk about it all the time on Paranormal Odyssey. We never have to worry about assholes in our chat. You guys are awesome. It's the same with Brian and I when we do these things. Love you guys so much. Thank you for all of the support. Everything that you do, please keep those ratings and reviews coming in. They help us out so very much. They don't cost you a dime. If you want to help us out, that's the best way to do it. If you've done it in the past, do it again. We would appreciate it. Until we talk to y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.
Oh, yeah. And here's the real last word. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. I don't say that a lot, but Sasquatch Odyssey YouTube, we're live on right now. Backwoods Bigfoot Stories, we're live on, and we're on our True Crime one as well. So hit the like button, leave us a comment, and by all means, please subscribe on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Here comes our long-ass, kick-ass outro.